Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to talk about red-white Convoke in Pioneer, which is kind of just the new hotness in Pioneer over the course of the last month or two, and won the European Regional Championship. The deck we're going to talk about today is the 75 that won the European Regional Championship. We're going to talk about card choices, the overall strategy of the deck, some play patterns of the deck, and what cards in sideboard are for. Let's do it. So this is red-white Convoke. Let's go through it card for card. The lands is nothing to really look at. Chef at Dunes is kind of sweet once you go super wide, being able to finish if you're getting a little flooded, and Den of the Bugbear for some reach. And basically there are three sides to this deck. There's the amass creatures as much as possible side, there's the Convoke side, and then there's the finisher side. So let's go through each one of these cards. First off, Ornithopter. It is a creature you can put on the battlefield to which then Convoke. Sometimes it'll go to +1/+1 counter from Venerated Loxodon. Sometimes it won't, but it's just a creature you can convoke. It's also a creature that you can Gleeful Demolition, which is a 1-mana sorcery that says destroy target artifact. If you control that artifact, create 3/1/1 red Phyrexian Goblin creature tokens. So a very normal turn one is Ornithopter, land, Gleeful Demolition, get 3/1/1s pass, which is a pretty powerful turn one, I would say. Voldaren Epicure is a 1/1 for 1, deals 1 damage when it enters the battlefield, and you create a blood token, which by the way is an artifact for Gleeful Demolition. And Thraben Inspector, similarly, the clue token is a little bit more valuable than the blood token, but it enters, you get a clue token, which is an artifact of Gleeful Demolition, but also something that you can pop to be able to dig a little bit deeper. Legion Landing creates a 1/1, but also can flip and give you a little bit more reach in the land that can create more 1/1s. Also, what's relevant is the 1/1s it makes have lifelink, which is really nice. We're playing 3 Giant Killers. For Shieldred and Atraxa mostly, those are 2 total Stonewalls for us, that if they stick, we just kind of die. Also fine as a 1-drop to be able to get things on the battlefield so we can eventually convoke. We're playing 4 Resolute Reinforcements, something that we can just like hang out with mana up, maybe threaten popping a clue, flash us in to mess up combat. Having a flash creature is super powerful. And then we're playing 3 Clarion Spirit, which is a 2-mana 2/2. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying, which you can see it being very easy because we have Convoke creatures that we essentially cast for free, some free creatures, so a lot of 1-drops. We trigger Clarion Spirit a lot. So we're trying to flood the board as much as possible with this category so that we can cast our Convoke creatures. Venerated Loxodon is a 5-mana 4/4 with Convoke that when Venerated Loxodon enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that convoked it. Convoked basically says that you can tap a creature and it produces a mana of whatever color it is, including colorless, to be able to cast this spell. Or you can use normal mana. So if you have 5 creatures and at least one of them is white, you can just tap the creatures instead of spending any mana to cast Venerated Loxodon. The same is true for Knight Errant of Eos, which is a 4/4 for 5 with Convoke. And when it enters a battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards with mana value X or less from among them, where X is the number of creatures that convoked Knight Errant of Eos. Put the revealed cards in your hand and then shuffle. So you can cast these cards for free, which is already very powerful, but also Knight Errant of Eos refills your hand, and Venerated Loxodon makes these little dumb guys much, much bigger than they should be, and it's quite overwhelming. This last category is finishers. We have Reckless Bookwasher and Regal Leosaur. They do really similar things though. With the Reckless Bookwasher has Surge, where you can cast a spell for a Surge cost if your teammate is casting another spell this turn, and it's a 3-mana 2/1 with haste or Surge for 2. And when it enters the battlefield, if a Surge cost was paid, other creatures you control get +1/+1 gain haste until end of turn. So similar to Clarion Spirit, it's really easy to cast another spell before you cast this spell. So we can cast our 1-drop and then get everything +1/+0 and haste until end of turn, which can cause some crazy explosion if you like, have like 4 lands, cast 2 1-drops, cast Reckless Bookwasher, everything gets haste and +1/+0, and you normally end the game that way. Regal Leosaur is a similar situation, except you don't have to have casted another spell that turn. It has Mutate, and when you mutate on a creature, which I don't think anything is a human besides Thraben Inspector and Giant Killer. Okay, so you can't mutate on Knight Errant of Eos, Thraben Inspector, or Giant Killer, but you can mutate on anything else. And you cannot mutate a Resolute Reinforcements, but you can mutate on the soldiers. Super weird. Mutate's a weird mechanic, being non-human. But when you mutate, creatures get +2/+1 till end of turn. A little bit better than Reckless Bookwasher and Whacker in that sense, but costs 1 more mana, but also doesn't require the card cast before it. So, some normal play patterns with this deck are, it's kind of interesting. So like I said, very often you'll go like turn 1 on Ornithopter, Gleeful Demolition, get 3 guys. Turn 2, play 2 1-drops, right? Now you have 5 creatures, and then still on turn 2, cast Venerated Loxodon, Knight Errant of Eos. That is kind of a nut hand. A similar nut hand would be like Turn 1, Voldaren Epicure or Thraben Inspector. Turn 2, Gleeful Demolition, the artifact that it makes, play any other 1-drop. Tap all of those cards, be able to cast one of these 5-drops. Another very, very good hand would be just like flooding the board like we just talked about, and then on turn 3 playing like 1-drop Reckless Bushwhacker, or just mutating Regileosaur. Everything gets huge, jam. Your opponents normally have to block in ways that they don't want to. And this is a deck that you really have to mulligan super aggressively, because if you don't have a hyper aggressive hand, the deck really does nothing if it goes long. Knight Errant of Eos can recover from your opponent stopping your initial aggression, kind of, but really Knight Errant of Eos should be providing additional support and additional creatures for a giant Alpha Strike the turn after it comes on the battlefield. Normally, you're casting Knight Errant of Eos actually to find Regileosaur or Reckless Bushwhacker. So you're flooding the board, convoking, or trying to kill with one of these cards. It is so explosive, so powerful, and so overwhelming for a lot of your opponents. As far as our sideboard goes, Light of Hope is for destroying enchantments, or, you can side it in against mono red if you're worried about being burnt out. But basically, we're just playing to destroy an enchantment, like specifically Temporary Lockdown. We're playing Surge of Salvation for things like Brotherhood End and things like that. Invasion of Gobakon for combo decks, and if we're really worried about board wipes. Weighted Announcement for these mid-range decks or anything we feel like can get rid of our initial aggro. Forge Devil is great in the mirror match, is great against humans, and really, really good against mono green, being able to kill their mana dorks. Running Volley, obviously, for like humans and spirits, and I guess for Zoomer Drakes and stuff like that. Jegantha is just here as a cheerleader. Sometimes we have to use them, but if we're casting a Jegantha, something's gone horribly wrong, to be totally honest. And then a Pithy Needle for various activated abilities. Well, the deck is pretty straightforward. I think the hardest part of the deck is sequencing. Being able to understand how you can cast your cards to present the most damage possible and be able to make sure you can convoke and all of that stuff. But that just comes with playing, I think. So I hope you enjoyed looking at this deck. If you liked this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social media. Links are above me and in the description. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.